Fight Mike here. Today we're going to be discussing the fights I need to see for 2026 next year. These aren't all just like massive super fights. They're also just good stylistic matchups and fights that should have happened already. These are all specifically not their like next fight, but I just think it should happen next year. They may have two fights in between, one fight in between. And I've also ordered it from divisionally smallest to biggest. So we're starting with flyweight going up to heavyweight. But with the flyweight division, the first matchup I wanted to talk about is Asu Almabayev versus Tagir Ulanbekov. I was so gutted to see that these guys were both booked for UFC Qatar this year, but not booked against each other. Asu's booked against Alex Perez, which is sort of like a free win for him, especially this version of Perez coming off the injury and massively long layoff to Tatsuro Taira. And then Tagir was rebooked with Kyoji Horiguchi. I think that it should have been Perez versus Horiguchi and then Asu versus Tagir Ulanbekov. This is the fight to make. If you don't know, these two fought in 2017 when it was, I think Asu was 4-0 in his career and Tagir 5-0. And Tagir finished Asu very late in the third round. I think it was like 4 minutes 50 into the third round. And that was the last time Asu had been like really properly finished. I don't really count the Manel fight because, you know, there was like 3 eye rakes in the finishing sequence. But that was the last time Asu was like fairly and properly finished. So I think it would be a really good fight to run back, especially since they're both sort of young in their UFC career. Tagir's been around for a little bit longer than Asu, but they're both like new into the rankings, not done too much in the rankings. So I think it's a perfect time to make this fight. We also get to see how someone who's got decent grappling comes up against Asu. Asu's only really fought guys with like very low level grappling. And then the only guy he fought with decent grappling and Manel Cat was able to instantly defend all of it. So it'd be good to see how his offensive grappling goes against a guy with really good defensive grappling in Tagir Ulanbekov. And Asu's also just not going to be able to use that smudge game plan against Tagir. Tagir's very difficult to do that against, and I think it would be a very fun fight. It would force a scrap out of Asu, which is not a very often thing for him to get into. Moving on to the next flyweight one we've got for Kai Kara Francis against Manel Cap. If I don't see this fight one day, I'm going to be so mad because these are two of the most explosive flyweights on the roster, two of the most with the biggest KO power. And that's very uncommon for flyweight. But I just don't think it's going to happen for some reason. Because Manel probably beats Royval. But then I bet the winner of Moreno versus Taira is going to get like a title shot. And then the loser of that will likely fight Manel Cap. But I think Manel Cap should fight against Royval. And then just have a fight against Kai Kara France straight after. Because both of these guys have talked a lot of shit online. They've talked in-person press conferences. We've got all the promotion for it. They've been booked to fight each other. It's a no-brainer. They have to make this fight. I'll be so mad. I've been talking about this fight for at least a year now, and I know that they're not going to make it. Moving on to the next one. This is for bantamweight now. We've got Sean O'Malley versus Corey Sandhagen. We got the two tatted-up monsters in the bantamweight division coming up against each other. I've been talking about this fight as well for a long time. Everyone has. It's the two strikers' delights coming up against each other, and it's sort of just like a fantasy matchup with two of the tallest, longest, rangiest bantamweights. And I just want to see the adjustments both guys are going to have to make. I bet both guys are super used to being the taller fighter, and I just need to see them come up against each other. We got the switch stanceroos against each other. We can test the submission grappling of O'Malley. We can test the traditional takedown strength and wrestling of Sandhagen. It's just a really fun technical matchup. And it's also just a battle against the fan bases. I swear the Corey Sandhagen fan base always talk about him, how he's like the crutch of Sean O'Malley's striking. And then the Sean O'Malley fans are always talking about how Corey Sandhagen doesn't have the power or the pop to keep Sean O'Malley off him and he's just going to get slapped out cold. And I want to see the answer. I need to see this fight. Moving on to the featherweight division. I've got Movsar Evloev versus Diego Lopez, the rematch. I honestly think this fight's going to happen next year, and I think it's going to be for a vacant title. I think Volk fights either Movsar or Lerone in February, maybe beats them, maybe loses to them. I can see him beating both of them, though. And then just retiring in Australia, perfect moment. And then I think these guys are going to be fighting for a vacant shot, and that's sort of the best time for them to rematch. The first time they fought, it was on Lopez's debut on 2 weeks' notice, and Lopez made it such a difficult fight for Movsar. And Movsar since then has fought like once, I think, maybe twice, but I'm pretty sure he's only fought once since that fight, since that very razor-close decision. I want to see these guys on a full camp. Both guys are quite different from the day they fought. Actually, in saying that, Movsar is not that different from the day they fought, but Diego Lopez is night and day. Diego Lopez, when he fought Movsar last time, was sort of like a Brian Ortega, where he would get caught on bottom position, would go for submissions, not really try to get up. Now we got a Diego Lopez who's trying to kill you and hurt you and put some damage on your face. He's going to be trying to get up as soon as he gets taken down from Movsar Evloev. He's going to go for a quick reversal, and then if it fails, he's going to get back up. We've seen that his fight IQ has been making leaps and bounds of improvement since their last fight. And I want to see both guys even off a full camp, because if this is a 3-round fight, full camp on that first one, maybe Diego Lopez pulls a hat out of the bag. If it's now with all the improvements from Diego Lopez and we get to see these guys on a 5-rounder full camp, I don't even know what can happen there. There's a lot of differences. There's a lot of improvements both guys can make, and I want to see it. And also, Movsar's not fought a 5-rounder. We need to see that. Moving on to the next one for the lightweight division. This is Max Holloway versus Charles Oliveira. I think this almost is 100% the fight that's going to happen next. A rematch waiting to happen. Another one. A lot of this list is rematches, but timing-wise, right now is the only time it makes sense. Oliveira is at the tail end of his career, the twilight end of his career. He's going to be looking for big-name matchups, stuff to boost his resume, or he's looking for belts like the BMF. He's just getting that last little edge before his retirement, just that last little bit to make him solidify himself as one of the greats. And for Max, he's had the belts, he's had the title defenses, and that was a long time ago now, and now he's holding the BMF belt. He's trying to get back to the lightweight championship. He's trying to get the double belt, be the first guy to hold 3 belts in the UFC. And I think to get there, I'd like to see Holloway come up against a dominant grappler. Even if Ilia Topuria isn't a dominant grappler, maybe he gets beaten by Arman Tsarukyan. So I need to see Max Holloway come up against a guy who can really, really grapple. Because people try to convince me that Frankie Edgar is the same level of grappler when Frankie fought Max as Charles is right now. They tried to tell me that Frankie's as dangerous. He's got the submissions, man. Oh, man, you see that ground and pound he hit Yair Rodriguez with when Yair was like 23 years old? Nah, I want to see someone who's got real submission threat. 19 submissions in the UFC. I have actually no idea. It might be 2021 or 2021 finishes. I have no idea again. But I want to see a dominant, massive, lightweight grappler, finisher, ground and pounder. Someone who's got the full aspect of MMA grappling in their tool bag. I want to see that come against Max Holloway in this fight. It's a very, very hard fight, and I'm all here for it. Moving on to the next one, I'm not going to discuss this for too long because I think there's a 0% chance of this happening. Islam Makhachev versus Ilia Topuria. I really wish we saw this fight, but I don't think it's ever happening. It could be one of the most hyped fights of the modern era, where we've got 2 guys who are just sprinting up the GOAT list who could possibly come up against each other, and I need to see it. We got one of the best grapplers, if not the best grappler in the UFC, up against one of the best strikers, if not the best striker in the UFC. Please make this fight before they both retire, please. Moving on to welterweight division. I've got Belal Muhammad versus Kamaru Usman. The beef that needs to be settled. We've got barely any Kamaru Usman left of him before he retires. But he's so insistent on not fighting, so I think it's really not going to happen. But then again, in this world where Kamaru Usman's trying to demand a title shot, in no world with all of these good contenders is he going to get that shot. So maybe for Kamaru, he should be trying to move up that GOAT list. And honestly, I thought he should have moved to middleweight. But if he's going to stay in welterweight, there's probably only a couple of matchups that will really move him up that GOAT list. Belal Muhammad, Shavkat Rakhmonov, and Sean Brady. He needs to make these fights, and if he's staying in welterweight, these are the 3 fights. And especially the Belal one, they've got the promotion for it ready. Book the fight, please. Moving on to another welterweight matchup, we've got Shavkat Rakhmonov versus Michael Morales. It's another one of those undefeated versus undefeated matchup. And honestly, I think that this would be a fight of the year contender. Both guys are so good, so determined. They're on their generational runs, their perfect records. But then again, when I watch them fight, they've got so many exploitable holes. And I think this fight's going to be an absolute war. Moraes' counter grappling is very good, especially against the cage. He's got great balance, and that's where Shavkat does his best work. I would lean Shavkat's way in this fight, but with the inactivity and the lack of dominance on the ground, we'd probably see a true blockhead war. We'd see Michael Morales being able to get back off the cage, slamming kicks against Shavkat Rakhmonov, maybe rocking him in that blockhead at points. I just need to see that fight. Moving on to the next one in the middleweight division, we've got Dricus Du Plessis versus Brendan Allen. I think that this is the next fight that they will make, because this beef needs to be settled. I don't care if it's just over a tattoo that Dricus made a joke about. I just don't have any interest in any other Brendan Allen fights. I don't have an interest in a Strickland rematch or a Fluffy Hernandez rematch, even like an Adesanya fight. This is the goofy matchup I need. Sign me up. Dricus needs to improve his grappling. Who better against than Brendan Allen? And then for Brendan, we need to see if he's as gritty as he says he is, or if he's made the fight IQ improvements he said he has. And Dricus, a guy who's going to pull himself into mount on bottom position, who better? Really, who better? Now, another middleweight matchup, we got Sean Strickland versus Anthony Hernandez. Sean Strickland's been calling for this fight, and I absolutely love it. Outside of Hamzat, this is the only tricky fight for Hernandez. I think Hernandez is able to get this version of Dricus down and dominate him. But then Sean's cardio, his get-up ability, his pressure, and his slick boxing, that's going to give Hernandez a lot of problems. Hernandez uses his own boxing to get into range, so I can't imagine him having an easy time with Strickland. And especially since Strickland's got the grappling, he's got the defensive wrestling. He gets up seconds after getting taken down, never gotten held down across his career. This is a very good fight to take place, and I really do actually hope they make it. Moving on to the next one for Jared Cannonier. It's against Joe Pyfer. Honestly, I've got no real reasoning for wanting this fight. I just want to see these two powerhouses scrap. For light heavyweight, we've got Jan Blachowicz versus Khalil Roundtree. I want Jan to keep fighting some top-level guys until he retires. I think this is a very interesting fight. How is he going to deal with Khalil's explosiveness in old age? And for Khalil, how can he beat a guy who defends all of his best weapons? Honestly, for light heavyweight, there's not that many other fights. I did create the display before the weekend's fights took place. So maybe a Magomed Ankalaev versus Azamat Mirzakhanov type fight should be on this list. But this would be a really fun fight between two very good light heavyweights. And now for the heavyweight division, Tom Aspinall versus Alex Pereira. Look, I know Tom had a stinker on the weekend, but I think he still beats Cyril Gane. And if he does, this is the fight to make after that Gane rematch. Because after seeing the fight on the weekend, you can't tell me a Pereira matchup isn't very interesting. And you can't tell me Pereira doesn't have a better shot than beating Aspinall than Gane does. I think Gane has very good outside footwork, and that might be a spot where he gives more issues to Aspinall. And that I could very well see that take place just because he did a lot of very good circling against Aspinall up against the cage to make sure he didn't get trapped there. And maybe Alex Pereira doesn't do that same thing. But I think Pereira is more accurate, more dangerous, more powerful than Cyril Gane. And we need to see Alex Pereira go for 3 belts in his career. Let me know what you thought of the video in the comment section below. As always, if you enjoyed the video, leave a like and a comment, and I'll catch you next time. Peace.